I am Geoffrey Villardwen in the Kingdom of Sweden campaign from 1648, 30 Years of War, a mode for medieval to Total War kingdoms by Infracta. He was well guarded, whom the Lord had care of. A quote from Robert Monroe from the mod. However, the hard disk in which I was saving my Total War campaigns has not been as well guarded. It became corrupted over a year ago, and I have lost 2 terabytes worth of campaign-related saves and recorded material and graphics, not just from the Sweden campaign, but also from my Rusici Total War campaign, my Epirus campaign from Rome 2, and I don't know what else. However, I have finally resolved I could not recover any of that, but as we only need 1 more settlement to end the Sweden campaign, to start from the last save I still had, which was from episode 33, the last episode. So we are in December now of the year 1631, after the historical Battle of Breitenfeld. It was an eventful year and is coming to a close, with the King of Sweden in East Franconia, in Erfurt to be precise, with some of the big names with him, Gustav Horn and Marquis Scottish Regiment with Robert Monroe. I have left the Scottish voiceovers on, as the Scots will see again some action in this episode that will cover the month of January 1632. So here is Franconia, and we're moving on to January 1632. One of our priests has executed a heretic. The Austrians are besieging Liegnitz.
We must stand with courage, men. The enemy lays siege.
In Silesia. So I do not know which other campaigns I will be able to continue, but this campaign probably needs, after this, maybe another 2 episodes and it will be over. So I want to finish it. So I'm starting again, basically, from where I left. So there was a wedding. There's a Masons Guild in one of the cities which were accepted. There are bandits, robbers, and thieves that has an effect on income. The Chronicle of 1632 was the year when here was at Maris, the year when Rembrandt painted an important painting. So there were some construction projects that have finished. Here is Axel Augustiana, Rhone, the settlements, some decreasing or changing the tax levels after a building has been completed. That was Johan Banner, by the way. Various personalities got various traits. If you want, you can read them. I'm not going to. Queues have stalled. The strongest faction now is the Imperial Archduchy of Austria, and we are second strongest. They are besieging Liegnitz. This is the priest that executed the heretic in Saxony. So, because some of that was quick, so here's again, this is an event when you see it that affects income, it affects trade and so on because of bandits and so on, Rome in the countryside. This is the painting by Rembrandt, the marriage celebrations of one of our general, the various buildings we finished on at the end of the year in December, and the various faction announcements of the various generals. Some of them have improved supply, some of them have worse supply. Johan Banner is in Dessau at the moment in Saxony. And queues have stalled, which basically happens every turn. And the strongest faction is the Imperial Archduchy of Austria. So here's the end of turn report. We're militarily the second strongest after the Imperial Archduchy of Austria. Liegnitz is being besieged by the Imperialists, by the Kaiser. Here's that priest class from Mecklenburg, who is a servant of God after executing Christoffel zu Solms-Braunfels, that heretic. So, diplomacy, as I said, the faction standings, the faction details show we control 34 regions, and we need one more, 35, and we finish the campaign. We also have all the important settlements. And so here's that army in Liegnitz that's besieging Liegnitz. And we brought some reinforcements. Liegnitz is being defended by Joachim Kielström, and Georg von Brandenburg-Bayreuth has come to his aid from one of the nearby forts. He's brought his garrison, the garrison of that fort. And here's the enemy general with a sizable army, but not terribly good quality. Here's Joachim Kielström, who is the governor of Liegnitz, with his various traits, mostly nice traits. He's good on the walls, which is good here. And the enemy general is Hendrik von Wellen. And this chap will trouble us once more. He's troubled us in the past. He's been very troublesome. And so here again the stats of Joachim Kielström. You can see them in high resolution from screenshots. And we can start the battle. It was mainly Scottish that fought in Swedish service. And so it's fitting, I guess, that for today we have the Scottish voiceovers, and we can imagine Robert Monroe narrating what is going on. Not narrating, but maybe coming up with his comments. And so here's the garrison of Liegnitz. Reinforcements have arrived. And so what I'll do is the usual thing, which consists of musketeers firing from the walls, and then a sally out joining the reinforcements from one of the side gates. So here are these turncoats or rabble who have very simple weapons, very simple clothing, and so on. And they have lower morale than other units. They don't form part of the pike and short formations. They more function as forlorn hopes in the game. And this particular company has managed to get underneath one of the walls, but as you can see, there's no dead zone in a star fort, so they're being shot from the side, they've been shot from here. So you can picture this. This is, a realistic representation. There's nowhere you can go. You can find a dead zone in a star fort. That was part of the design. So, although the turncoats rushed foolhardily towards the walls, the majority of the units are staying back. Here are some more turncoats. The general who's on the side has presumably spotted the approach of the reinforcing armies, so they're going over to have a look. Presumably unaware of the size of the reinforcements, of the strength of the sally out, and so on. There's a pretty flag. The flags were done by Monty. He did a fantastic work with the flags. And the artillery is killing them. This looks like OP, so of course the Star Force are OP, they're overpowered. On the other hand, the game is balanced in this way. So the AI builds big armies, and then you have the Star Force, and you can wither those armies down in the sieges. So the main army, as you see, is very disciplined, and it's not just rushing headlong into battle towards the salient and the reinforcements. You see they've arranged themselves in this pike and shot formation, and only just this unit of turncoats is still running forward. They've been massacred by the artillery, and they got sight of the salient, just a couple of units. The general's bodyguard is there and some pikemen. They haven't seen yet the reinforcements arriving. So these are the reinforcements. It's a sizable force, probably over 1,000 men. And here's the enemy general, so he's on the left, he's looking towards his army, you see. He's checking that no one dares to go and skirmish. He's keeping an eye and seeing who is sallying out and who is coming as a reinforcement and what's happening on that side. He's making sure the rest of his army does not do anything foolish. I think when an enemy army has a general, it behaves somewhat more rationally. Maybe it's just my impression. So the reinforcements are now here, more or less. They have almost arrived. Some of the units here are from the garrison. The garrison had 2 units of cavalry, cuirassiers and arquebusiers. These are still mostly the garrison units here, not exclusively. Some of them have arrived. These post-reform musketeers and pikemen have just arrived with the reinforcements, so all these units. And here are some post-reform cuirassiers, so the reinforcements are moving forward because the enemy is not moving, so we have to coax them to move. And sometimes I'm sending one of the generals to fire a few pot shots at them to entice them to move in our direction. Then he comes back and joins the rest of the army, and the army slowly moves as the enemy is so tentative and they don't want to attack us. There have been a couple of units, so there is the general's bodyguard. They're just within range and they've lost some men, possibly from artillery fire. And here this unit of dragoons has moved forward. Dragoons don't belong to the proper pike and shot formation. The pike and shot formation actually stays in place, which is interesting, but these dragoons are being massacred. So finally, being under fire, these men lost their patience, and they started just advancing pell-mell towards the reinforcements. But now the battle is in our favor because we can shoot at them from the walls. These are Italian cuirassiers, that's what they are supposed to be. They are modeled on Piccolomini's cuirassiers from some drawing or painting of those cuirassiers, but of course they're mercenary ones, so anyone can hire them. They're not limited to just Piccolomini's army. And so the enemy cavalry now has made their appearance, and they realized that they are facing a very large army, so they're retreating. But more cavalry is coming in our direction under fire from the walls. Sorry for this view with the trees. So you can see there are a lot of Italian writers. There are also some post-reform arquebusiers. You see them here. And here the post-reform musketeers. The enemy cavalry will charge them. So these Italian cuirassiers, they're very impetuous, and so they've charged our infantry. Fortunately, they didn't cause too many casualties. They also shot their pistols. But we're sending our pikemen in their direction, so wisely they decided to retreat. A very good move by the AI.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
So it seems the enemy is very tentative, so what I'm going to do is put some pikemen here and also some grenadiers, because they don't seem to want to progress much further than this point. And plus they've been massacred, so that means that these reinforcements are relatively useless. And now they seem to really want to avoid engagement, and so they're running away from our army. So that kind of forces me to move towards them. Here the Italian cuirassiers have made another attack. It's a beautiful view. But they have been repulsed. They're very impetuous, but also have relatively low morale, being mercenaries and foreign mercenaries as such. They are not too keen to die for the cause of the Kaiser. And here are some more arquebusiers. These are pre-reform and some post-reform cuirassiers. And we are moving forward once again. Here's the general. He's taking shots from the distance to kind of tease them a bit and force them to come in our direction when they retreat. I said something in the last episode about firing long shots, and he's using carbines. His bodyguard has carbines, and they're firing long shots. That's how they've been, sort of made in the game for various reasons, functional reasons, so they don't go too near the enemy. And the AI generals don't go too near our army, because they can shoot from afar. Yeah, this is a trick we thought about. And usually soldiers were not trained to take long shots, but we assume generals' bodyguards had well-trained members, and so they're doing just that. And so now we have the upper hand. As you can see, here's some pre-reform musketeers with interesting helmets, and they do a rotation of ranks, which was actually one of the reforms. Some of the military reforms was the rotation of ranks, but we could not get it to work properly, and it doesn't work very well in practice. It actually is better not to have rotation of ranks. Units put out much more firepower if they don't have rotation of ranks. And so we made the pre-reform musketeers to have rotation of ranks and the post-reform not to have rotation of ranks, which is counterintuitive and non-historical. So here's the enemy general. He's in a very exposed position. Right now he's in the foremost part of his army, and his army is basically massacred. He received 2 shots there, but seems to have a lot of hit points. Some generals have a lot of hit points. It's part of their stats.
The enemy are badly blooded. They have lost half their men.
And he's been shot several times.
Saints, our men have slain the enemy general. Without him, his troops will lose their will to fight.
And he has been slain. So Hendrik von Wellen, who has troubled us so much around this area, is finally dead. So we continue advancing. Now the enemy has no hope, really. There are still a few units left. So we see here some musketeers and a slightly stronger unit of halberdiers, of musketeers again, mercenary musketeers. They're very worn out, these units, especially the blue and yellow one. This one received shot from the cannon, one of the cannons on the walls, and they are very exposed here, and our entire army is facing them. There are also some double-handers, Zweihander, you see them here, and the job of these types of units were as forlorn hopes, which is exactly what they're doing here. So when tertius came close to each other and there was a possibility for a push of pikes, they would go ahead and try and disrupt the enemy pikemen, so they could not effectively fight the push of pikes. That was their job. So they skirmished ahead of the main formations. And that's more or less what they're doing here, although we cannot get the AI to really deploy proper pike and shot formations. I mean, they deploy as pike and shot formations, but they don't go into battle as pike and shot formations. They go into battle in a medieval sort of way, with missile units skirmishing forward and the pikemen staying behind a little bit, and it gets separated. So one of the units is retreating, it's possibly broken, and this unit almost certainly has been broken. And now our cavalry is skirmishing. Here are some cuirassiers, post-formed cuirassiers. They are chasing this routed unit. And our generals are also coming this way, and here are the arquebusiers, and this unit has been routed, but they're encircled, so they're routing the other way to avoid the cavalry. But of course now they're being shot from the walls and from the sally out. The ensign has been wounded, but he puts his flag up anyway. Oh, he's been shot again. He's hard to kill. He's gotten up again. He's been shot a third time. He gets up again a fourth time and he's dead. Wow, that was a very heroic ensign. And that was a terrible massacre. The enemy army is strewn on the ground.
This is a clear victory that goes to only men of great virtue and valor.
Heroic victory. No, clear victory. We lost 87 men, killed over 3,000. That's not so bad. And the late musketeers firing from the walls, got a lot of experience, got tons of kills. One of those units got 1,543 kills, amazing. So the siege of Liegnitz has been lifted.
Let the enemy march here to the slaughter.
Okay. The enemy army has not been ransomed. Let the enemy army march here to a slaughter, into slaughter. So that's exactly what happened.
Aye, Lord. Where's the fight?
Okay, so I'm going to send some units back into that fort, that medieval fortified town, because otherwise I have to pay upkeep. But unfortunately, here we go. Unfortunately, some of the units that I could put in the fort would not go. Okay, so we sent kills to him because the other general, Georg von Brandenburg-Bayreuth, will not reach, unfortunately. So he'll have to govern Liegnitz for the next turn. And the enemy army has been routed by the strategic genius of Joachim Killström.
Command me.
And here's the situation in Prussia. If you remember, we had some forts there being besieged, and they're still being besieged. But we have now this general. He's coming with reinforcements. Well, he doesn't have reinforcements, but he can recruit mercenaries, and this is exactly what he's going to do. And then come and relieve one of the sieges, because the police have been very persistent in besieging these two forts.
Very well. We'll set to strike their blind side, sire.
So this one, I think it's called Löbau. And it's been governed by Reinhold Arnrep. He has a small garrison, and he is Karl of Pfalz-Zweibrücken. And the enemy captain, Captain Zwalibo, has been very active in these parts. Is also pestering us.
Leave no enemy alive.
All right. And so hopefully we can win this battle and see the last of him. So again, the usual thing. Musketeers go on the walls. Pikemen and maybe one musketeer or two musketeer units go outside and a sally out, and then the reinforcements come and join them, the relief force. So here are the reinforcements, the mercenaries that Karl of Pfalz-Zweibrücken, I think was his name. And again, the usual thing I do is try to tease them with one of the generals, so his lifeguards, bodyguards suited them from the distance. That usually teases them. So you saw our general there in the beginning, he is running back. He has taken a few pot shots, and sometimes that teases them to attack. They get annoyed by being shot and they decide to attack. And so one of the Polish cavalry units, these arquebusiers, have decided to chase our General Arnrep, the commander of the garrison. And now a second, I think, possibly, no, it's that initial unit of arquebusiers that are skirmishing, chasing our general. And these pikemen go forward because the enemy arquebusiers are coming a little too close for comfort. You see we have musketeers on the walls, but the angle is not so good, so they cannot shoot. And that's realistic. So you see those musketeers on the walls were not shooting, because there is a dead zone in these medieval forts, but not in the star forts. And so there's An engagement there between our pikemen and the enemy arquebusiers.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
And the rest of the army is in a kind of pike and shot formation.
The enemy general flees like the coward he is. Press onward and break the spirit of his army.
Sounds like Trolleyball, Captain Trolleyball has retreated. And some winged hussars have managed to squeeze past that those pikemen. They are next to one of our general bodyguards. They have attacked those musketeers, they attacked the pikemen. The winged hussars are probably...
If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
I was saying the winged hussars are probably the best kind of melee cavalry unit in this mod. And here's some Possiform cuirassiers as well. These are the mercenary pikemen that came with a relief force, and there were also some proper pikemen, pre-reformed pikemen with breastplates and helmets. Because of the necessities of war and lack of money and so on, at some point it was not possible to find helmets and breastplates, I think, for everyone. So a lot of units, the post-reform units, did not have as good armor, but they tried to defend themselves behind various barricades and redoubts and trenches and so on, to make up the fact that also armor was pointless after with a more widespread use of the musket. Musket could pierce, musket balls could, musket shot could pierce the armor of ordinary soldiers or even of knights and so on. And so for a variety of reasons, armor, even helmets, became rare, and most of the units were just equipped.
By the saints, our men have slain the enemy general. Without him, his troops will lose their will to fight.
In plain clothes. So Trolleybog came back and he was slain. And there's some good views here of the battle, a very fierce, raging battle with the pikemen pushing forward and the cavalry charging them, but I think the enemy now has been broken. Except this one unit of winged hussars have attacked one of our tertius here. They attack the musketeers. The pikemen are trying to push them away. I'm going to call off the musketeers so they will take cover behind the pikemen. And the pikemen are trying to push away and to push off the winged hussars, who decide to eventually retreat. The beautiful flag by Monty. And here you see those musketeers. They fire very few shots. They don't have very good... there's too much of a dead zone next to the wall, so they don't have a very good view of the enemy units. So here we are shooting now at the enemy cavalry from the distance, as they are thinking twice about attacking us, and they will eventually retreat. Here are those mercenaries that came with a relief force. We are somewhat reorganizing our formations here because they became disrupted in the chaotic fighting. The winged hussars decided to call it a day, and they retreat. They're going to fight another day. But this one unit of pikemen, you saw, they decided to go into battle to cover the retreat of the Polish army, presumably. So here's the enemy cavalry retreating. You see their entire army has retreated, but this one unit here, there's a unit of Polish pikemen. Very characteristic Polish looking. And they will be flanked on two sides by our pikemen and being shot by our musketeers.
The enemy army flees the field. After them, cut the cowards down.
Being shot by the musketeers that will rout. So that was effectively the end of this battle. Now we're just chasing whatever units we can catch. Essentially just this one unit, because the cavalry has escaped. So here's one of the general's bodyguards, and here are the routed pikemen. We are collecting prisoners. So that was the second battle of January 1932. Another siege battle.
All of Christendom will be in awe of the victory we have won here today.
So we lost 185 men. We killed 657. It was mostly cavalry, so that's a good exchange. So there are the stats if you want to read them. When cannons are roaring and bullets flying, he that would have honor does not fear dying. A quote from Robert Monroe's diaries that he called his expedition with regiment of Scots.
Mercy, my lord! Your foes lie dead at my feet.
So we executed the prisoners because this general has dread, and so that will increase his dread. Not a very nice thing to do, of course, not in real life. And now Anrep, the commander of that fort, has gone to reinforce the other garrison, but he can't reach there, unfortunately. So we cannot attack this turn. We have to wait for next turn to relieve that siege. And the other general who came with the relief force has gone into that previous fort, which is called, I think, Löbau. So here's the situation in East Franconia with the Scottish regiment or brigade, the King of Sweden, and Gustav Horn. They are congregating around this fort they have just captured. And there is an enemy army there somehow among them. I'm not sure how the enemy army ended up there. So there's an Austrian army. There it is. And here is Robert Monroe.
At your service.
And we send a spy
Moving quietly.
to have a look at this place called Mühlhausen.
It is the honorable
And it has a very strong garrison with a lot of cavalry. It's very interesting, very well trained cavalry. And there are two smaller armies outside. This is one potential target. I think the actual campaign, when I first played it, when I finished it, we had taken Breslau, but Mühlhausen is definitely a possibility for this retake of the campaign. So that was Gustav Horn. This is the government, the garrison of Mühlhausen. Very nice army. One of the smaller arms outside. And here's the regiment of Robert Monroe, Marquis Brigade, regiment of Scots, the King. Here's Gustav Horn. We're going to attack. We're going to attack the unit. So Leonard the Fearless is, what I kind of picture as Robert Monroe. So you have to imagine he's Robert Monroe. Here's my Robert Monroe sort of in-game incarnation. And Gustav Horn comes with reinforcements, but we will not need him. We have clear superiority. Ottavio is actually Ottavio Piccolomini. Here it is. Here's a real historical character that is in the campaign. And he is in the battle, but he's not the commander because he's a liar for some reason. So he's been demoted. The valor doth consist of the greatness of true valor, doth consist in the greatness of courage and in the strength of the valiant arm, and not in the tongue. A quote by Robert Monroe, very fitting for this battle. Not a siege, for a change. It's a field battle. And here's the Scottish Brigade. And Robert Monroe was not historically the commander.
We'll give those vagabonds something to look miserable about. At them, lads! At them!
But in the campaign, he turned out to be the more able general. He's more able than John Marquis. So John Marquis is second in command of the Marquis Brigade. The Marquis Regiment of Scots, or Marquis or the Scottish Brigade, had two names because at one point became too small to be a proper brigade. And so the reinforcements by Gustav Horn, we will not need them, we can forget about them. So have deployed in the Swedish formation. Here's the enemy side. The enemy sends some of their cavalry forward. Here's some Piccolomini cuirassiers fighting for Ottavio Piccolomini, very characteristically. But because we also have Piccolomini cuirassiers in our army, I don't call them Piccolomini cuirassiers, I call them Italian cuirassiers. Just in my kind of sub-mod, change their name. But here Piccolomini cuirassiers are fighting for Piccolomini. And this unit of enemy Piccolomini cuirassiers have charged the pikemen, who moved forward to protect the pike and shot formation. And here are our Italian cuirassiers over this side. You see them just skirmishing as the enemy fall on the hopes of turncoats and moving forward. So there are some turncoats, enemy turncoats, and our pike and shot formation has opened fire. So our musketeers are firing at these approaching enemy units. And some of our pike units are moving forward to intercept the enemy fallen hopes, so they don't charge our musketeers. Here's that unit of Highlanders that did very well in one of the previous battles, in a night battle.
Very much in our favor. If we remain true and steadfast, victory will be ours.
And here's some wonderful looking post-reform cuirassiers. And they took a few shots with the pistols, and now they are running away. They haven't charged their units. Some of those Highlanders have engaged as a fallen hope, one of the enemy pike units. This enemy unit of turncoats has been attacked on the side by one of our small depleted pike units. Here's a unit of Lohausen Reiters, or Greifen Reiters. They don't have pistols, they just have swords. A light cavalry unit. They attacked these turncoats on their advance and broke them. Here is a chaotic scene with enemy cuirassiers, enemy pikemen, our own pikemen here. These are not Scottish, they are a mercenary regiment. We also have some archers, you maybe saw some arrows flying. There were a few Scottish archers actually in the mercenary forces, among the Scottish mercenaries. So here again the Lohausen Greifenreiter. And the enemy units are almost in full retreat. I think we've routed the majority of the enemy units. Here again the Lohausen cavalry. And the enemy cavalry is abandoning the field of battle. And we're chasing after them, except the enemy general, you see, is firing their carbines here. This unit is the enemy general. And they've tried to skirmish against our Italian Reiters, but they skirmished away. And now we're going to charge them in the rear with our Lohausen Greifenreiters and one of our generals, John Marquis, with his bodyguard.
Our men are winning the battle. If we continue like this, we will smash the enemy.
So the enemy general now is outnumbered.
The enemy general flees like the coward he is. Press onward and break the spirit of his army.
Now this is not Piccolomini. I think Piccolomini has already left. This is the other general. This is the enemy commander. And there's an enemy musket unit has been routed, being taken prisoner.
The enemy army flees the field. After them, cut the cowards down.
Yes, and the enemy general Sigismund Wolfhard has been slain, but Piccolomini has escaped, I believe.
This is a clear victory that goes to only men of great virtue and valor.
So another clear victory. We lost 70 men, and the enemy lost 1489. A few escaped. He was well guarded, whom the Lord had a care of. Another quote from Robert Monroe.
Let the enemy march here to the slaughter.
Let the enemy march here to a slaughter. So
God will see your mercy, my lord.
we are going to ransom or release them. No, ransom was rejected. But some units escaped.
To the Highlands.
Honor to the Highlands, yes.
Aye, sire. Aye. Aye, lord.
So these units will go and join the King of Sweden, because they are sort of Swedish regiments.
Combining the armies, sire.
And we're moving our arms near Mulhausen, because it looks like this is a possible target.
My king. My king.
And this settlement has very low public order because originally the king was here and he left. And now he has no governor. Sverker von Dargitz is in the other town in Weimar, so he's going to send a few units over. That doesn't improve the public order. So that was actually the end of January. That was the entire month. You saw there 3 battles, interesting ones. And we do the month of February in the next episode. Thank you for watching.